Facebook feed or visiting the Engage page where we put all the recordings up. This is episode 4, and we have visited with a lot of great people inside the company as well as outside the company, and we're really focusing the show on people in the company right now, because at Plumbing and HVAC SEO, basically, you get to see Josh and I for a very long time. Me, not so much on the videos anymore, but at trade shows, we get to see you guys, say hello to you, and shake your hands. And we're not the geniuses. The geniuses are the people in the trenches. And we've had a few on the show so far. You've met with Alan, our Director of Operations. Last week, we with Kirsten, where we discussed social media. And today, we have a very special presentation based around SEO, search engine optimization. And I have with me Ellie, or her street name, E-Money, with me on the show today. And we're going to be talking SEO. How are you doing?
I'm very good. How are you, Dean?
Awesome. So Ellie's been begging to get on the show, and I keep saying, nah, I can't have it, I'm just kidding. Actually, Ellie is here on the show because I have had a hard time getting people in your department to come on the show with me.
We're a bit camera shy.
Camera shy or very busy?
Yeah, both.
So, I mean, SEO is that's a subject that's near and dear to our hearts here because, after all, it's in our name, Plumbing and HVAC SEO, and we started this business just as a full-service SEO agency, and over the years morphed in the true digital marketing circle, and with PPC and social media and content marketing and all kinds of fun stuff. But SEO is the foundation of it all, right?
Definitely.
I mean, it's the trenches. It's the place you start, but it's also a very long-term thing.
It is. And like you're saying, Dean, it's basically the meat and potatoes of your internet marketing strategy. So you want to make sure you have a very solid SEO foundation, and that's going to support your website for years to come.
Excellent, excellent. It's so true. Because I've seen it before. I've seen clients that we've acquired from other agencies or other web developers who are SEOs and can build a website. But after all, it's like, you know, how do you determine who's a good SEO company and who's not a good SEO company? And in all reality, what the hell is SEO? No one can tell you straight out what the algorithms are except Google, because it's their world. They kind of have a set specific amount of algorithms that your website has to follow. And if you don't follow them, well, then you get the Google slap, right?
Exactly. And then another fun aspect of SEO is Google's never outright about what they favor and don't favor. So it's kind of our job to stay proactive and kind of pick up on these little hints that Google does when they make their algorithm changes, and that's how we can kind of decipher what the beast wants.
Exactly. It's so true. So it's like we kind of have an idea of what the algorithm entails. And so it might be 100 different little things, and we have to follow each one of them along the way. And in the world of SEO, in our industry, there's a thing called white hat and black hat. White hat, obviously the Lone Ranger, the good guy, does everything right, saves the day. Black hat, the outlaws, the guys who can promise you first page rankings in 5 days. And that's something to be weary of, because you can't guarantee SEO, because how can you? You don't know what it is, right?
Exactly.
There's certain things that you do, and you just have to, we're going to talk about those today. So, you know, first and foremost, Ellie, give us an idea, before we jump into the questions, what's a day in the life for an SEO at Plumbing and HVAC SEO?
So in our SEO department, we've kind of got things branched out into two facets. So part of our SEO department focuses on launching our new clients. So that's creating a new strategy to help you dominate in your market. And then we have the ongoing facet, which is once the bulk of it has been done, we kind of go into maintenance mode and kind of do tweaks and keep an eye on your site and make sure everything is working as it should. So a day in the life would be kind of, I do focus more a bit on launch. So all of you guys who are our clients, I've had a hand in your strategies. So I basically put together a lot of the strategies for our new sites that we launch, and that's basically the most important part of our SEO strategy is when we push out the new site. So we basically show Google everything we've got, and it's a very like powerful type of launch, and that's when we start seeing a lot of progress, is right after the new site launch.
Awesome. The great thing about Ellie is Ellie's been with us for a very long time, and she started here as an account manager. So she talked the talk, and the great thing is now she's in the trenches and she's on the technical side of the business. And the good thing about that is she knows the client conversation, right? You know, as an account manager, what the client wants, what the client's needs are, what their expectations are. So how has that helped you as an when you moved over to the SEO department?
So that has helped me tremendously because I can basically see things from both perspectives. So on the SEO side, there are certain things that we need to implement because we know what Google wants, and we have to implement those things. And then at the same time, I rely a lot on my experience with the clients, and I'm always coming up with new ideas of things that we can integrate on sites that are easy for our clients to help us with, and also very eye-catching and will help the website convert ultimately.
Awesome.
So,
Awesome. What I like to say about SEO is extremely important on the launch, and the only thing I can equate it to in layman's terms is that think of it as building a home on a solid foundation or on a bed of sand. If there's mistakes made in the SEO process when you first come on or when you first sign up with a company, you don't know about those problems until 4, 5, 6 months down the road when things are going wrong, right?
Definitely.
And we have acquired clients, and I was mentioning this earlier, and I have a very fast-moving mind. It goes in quick directions very quickly. But we've acquired clients over the years who came to us who've been doing SEO for a good part of 5, 6 years, and it's like you look at the site and there's so many problems that sometimes they're almost impossible to fix, because what happens is if things are really bad, you get put in a sandbox and your domain is just destroyed, and yeah, you could invest the time and money into fixing all that, but sometimes it can get very expensive. So are you building your home on a solid concrete foundation, or are you building it on a bed of sand? And the bed of sand is what's going to, obviously what's going to happen. That house is going to collapse. So Ellie's I'm talking a lot because I'm an egomaniac. And, but I brought Ellie on because I have some great questions for her. And there's some stuff here that she's going to share some tips with you that as clients, if you're a client of ours and if you're not, you can do these things, but if you're a client of ours, obviously we're doing SEO for you, but there are some things that, you can do on your end that would help us and get better results really fast, and you can do them if you want, or you don't have to. But the first thing I want to talk about is there are certain key things in building a solid SEO campaign that you need, right? And so backlinks. Backlinks are very interesting because some people to this day still say backlinks are not important. And when you look at analytics reports and you analyze sites and you look at the sites that are doing very well, they have a lot of backlinks. Years ago, Google changes the algorithms so often because people try to game the system. Yeah. And so there are tricks you can do to get ahead. But once Google catches up to you, well, then it's all over. And a few years ago, link building was the big thing. Get as many links as you can, as fast as you can, and your site will rank. And it did. Then the Penguin Panda algorithm came up a few years ago and came in and started penalizing for that. And so people that had thousands of links that they were getting from India, and I mean, you could take your website domain and put it on a Shakira fan site and duplicate it 1,000 times, have 1,000 links in your sidebar, and all of a sudden you're rising to the top. Well, then Google came in, slapped it away, and fortunately we didn't have any clients that were penalized with that, because we take a very conservative approach to our SEO, and that's a good way to do it. You want to be conservative with your SEO. You want to do things the right way. So let's talk about backlinks, Ellie. What are they and why are they important?
So to give you guys a brief overview, because I'm sure the term backlink is a bit confusing sometimes. Essentially, a backlink is any other site on the web that has a link that's pointing back to your site. And it could really come from anywhere. It could be a blog, it could be another organization or a charity, and it could even be a vendor that is linking back to your site.
Yeah, absolutely. Like if you're an HVAC company who deals with Rheem, a link from Rheem's website to your website is very good. And there's no reason why they wouldn't do that. If you're a vendor, they're going to point to their vendors.
Definitely.
Well, Google looks at Rheem. Rheem gets tons of traffic. Rheem is a big company. Rheem has a good reputation. And if Google looks at Rheem and says, okay, Rheem is pointing to, A1 AC in Topeka, Kansas, there's a reason for that. So they must be an important place to link to. So Google looks at you as in a positive way and gives you some traction.
Most definitely.
So that's look at it this way. If someone was coming in to work for your company and had and this is the whole reason why less is more. Less good quality links are better than a lot of bad links. So if I was coming to your company to apply for a job as new technician and I had 10 letters of recommendation from different companies, a retail store, Starbucks, place I worked, somewhere else, I don't know, they weren't industry related and they were like people you didn't know, or the next guy came in with a letter of recommendation from, say, the president of Rheem. Why not? And said this Gene is one of the greatest technicians we ever had. He's certified on Rheem, But, who would you look at as better? The guy who has 10 letters or the guy from Rheem who, so
Exactly.
it's a lot stronger. So getting links, is it easy? Is it hard? And how do you acquire them?
So luckily for you guys, if you're a client of Plumbing and HVAC SEO, we already do part of this for you. That's part of our service, is we acquire backlinks for you on a monthly basis. But you all are in a position to acquire some valuable links within your own community. So that's kind of what we want to cover here, is some strategies that you can use to acquire some easy backlinks from stuff that you're already probably doing. So an easy backlink that you can acquire is joining your local chamber of commerce. They will very quickly add you to their site with a logo and link back to you.
Awesome link.
Definitely.
And sometimes they're an ORG link, which is very high regarded.
Yes. If you are able to obtain or even a .edu or a .gov, very, very challenging, but if you can, those have a lot of authority, so that would help. If you are able to sponsor a charity or a walk or work with an organization, a nonprofit, they should be more than happy to link back to your site. It doesn't really matter what they write or how they do it, whether they display your logo or not. As long as they have a link back to your site, that's really what the robots are going to be looking at. So try to get involved in your local community. We're also going to talk about adding that kind of personalized content in a little bit, but it's very, very, very beneficial to get involved in your local community, sponsor events, and just kind of get your name out there, and at the same time get a backlink from it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so industry, obviously in the plumbing and HVAC industry, it's so much better to get industry related links. And so some ideas of industry related links would be a vendor, obviously, like a Rheem or a Trane or Standard or whatever. If you sell a product that you're certified, you would get a link there. Associations like the PHCC, Nexstar,
Yes.
Service Roundtable, those are huge links because those sites have a lot of authority. Other links that you can get are the EDU links. If you're somehow connected to like a job placement in one of the schools, if they can link to you, those links are gold.
Yes.
Others are, I wouldn't say your competitors, but if you're a plumber and maybe an HVAC guy could link to you, maybe a landscaper can link to you, or the local realtor.
Definitely.
Because that's community stuff, and that's
Exactly.
really hyper-targeted.
Yes, definitely.
There are, some links are better than others, right? So there is this thing called follow, do follow, and
no follow.
and no
Yes.
follows.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Definitely. So this is a bit advanced. So you guys might not encounter this so much, but in essence, when you link out to someone, you are in a way giving them some of your link juice. So it may happen that you do obtain a link from someone, but they have put a no follow tag, and that basically tells the robots, yes, I am creating this link, but I don't want to give my link juice, so kind of ignore this link. I feel like by and large, most webmasters are not that savvy, so the links you're going to be obtaining, they probably won't no follow them. But if you have any doubts, just reach out to your account manager / strategic partner, send it over to us, and we'll be more than happy to look at it. For the most part, a chamber of commerce or something is not going to no follow the link. So you guys should be fine on that front. But you may have heard the term do follow and no follow, so that's kind of what that means.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, another thing to think about with links is there's obviously a lot of SEO benefits to it. Another side of that is when you're doing for what we do for our customers, which is local internet marketing, which is local SEO, which is much different than just grand scheme like nationwide SEO. From a local perspective, we really want to hyper target who we're linking from, and so we use a lot of directories and like Yelp and some local plumbing directories, and there's an endless amount of them that are industry related, that are also geo so we're looking for targeted.
Yes.
And so those are really important as well. But the other side of it is you could get some. If you have a lot of links out there and they're good and they're industry related and they're not just sites from India, you could get some traffic from them as well, because
Yes.
people go on Yelp, people go on directories, people go on Angie's List, people go on blogs, or in the case of a local realtor or another home service business, they're a homeowner, they're looking for services, and there could be some traction there.
So that's an added benefit of obtaining the backlink. You also get the visibility of your name and your logo is out there and it's being named. So, it's being mentioned. So, you know, if you sponsor a walk, let's say, and then at the bottom it'll say sponsored by ABC Plumbing. So you get multiple benefits out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, SEO, it's a lot of things done right. Link building is not the only thing, right?
Definitely.
There's an old saying that goes back to the beginning of time. Content is king.
Most definitely.
And in the SEO world, content was one of the biggest things that was abused. And because if you did SEO 10 years ago or 8 years ago, you could basically build a website, write one page of content, and put it on every page on your website, and just change the city name, and you could rank a web page all day long. Every SEO company in America did it. That's the way you did it. But then, when you think of SEO, you have to think of Google, and put your feet in the shoes of Google and look at their perspective. Google is a search engine that has a customer base, and I'm a customer of Google. Ellie's a customer of Google. You were a customer of Google, and when you search on Google, what are you doing? You're looking for something, and Google obviously wants to deliver the very best to you, the very best result. And so when they deliver results with duplicate content on every single page, it's a bad experience for the searcher. So, you know, a little while ago, Google came in with another algorithm, and every website that had duplicate content on it went from number 1 to number 100.
Yes.
And that was a herder. So it goes back to this. Content is king. You have to write great content. And that's one of the things that we do here. We have a full content team in-house, and I promise I will get them on one of the shows. The shy bunch that they are. And what they do is all day is they sit in a dark room with blue lights on and just write. I mean, just write content all day. Could you do that? I would just like, I'm a content writer. And so they write content all day, and they write content in the plumbing and HVAC industry. I mean, Ellie here, I know for a fact, she's been around it so much, her and any one of our content writers could come in and fully repipe a house without a problem, right? And it's just because you write about it, read it so much, I really feel...
I'm an expert in sump pumps and tankless water heaters.
She can install a tankless water heater without the electricity. So it's pretty amazing just from reading the content that our people write. But no, all joking aside, content that's personalized for the company's website is very important. And so why don't you tell us a little bit about some content ideas and your perspective on them?
So, pretty much piggyback off what you were saying, Google essentially wants to provide the best experience to its users. So it wants to provide a search result that is going to answer your question or provide the information that you're looking for. And that's why content is key. Content is our main focus when it comes to SEO, and luckily if you're an plumbing and HVAC SEO client, you have that covered. We have put thorough, detailed, engaging content on your site. But what we love to add on sites is personalized, unique content, because when someone arrives at a website, they don't want to see a site full of stock photos. They want to see the owner. They want to see the technicians that are going to come. They want to see how you're active in the community, which goes back to what we were speaking on before, which is mentioning on your website what you're doing locally in the community and really giving your website that personalized touch. One of my first points here is, if you don't have a Meet the Team page, we definitely need to create one for you. You know, you don't have to really do an elaborate photo shoot. iPhones have a very good camera right now, and we can definitely use those photos. So let's get a Meet the Team page on there. Let's talk about current specials you're running, deals. Let's talk about any charities or organizations that you're involved with, any community efforts that you've been doing, because that really makes a difference, and it really can be a game changer for you when someone visits your site.
No, absolutely. It's when we look at the analytics of websites across the board, you would think, and before I even got anywhere near the plumbing and HVAC industry, when we first started this thing, I was like, a phone number and call, right? But when you look at the analytics, you look at the places people go, and the About Us page or Team page is one of the most trafficked pages.
Yes.
Because it's the trust factor. Who am I dealing with? The SEO is about ranking, but it's also about content and conversion, right?
Correct.
That's the most important thing. It's one thing to get a site listed on page 1 of Google and get some traffic to the site, but that's not where it stops or we stop. Our goal is to now convert that visitor into a customer or telephone call in your case. And so places like the About Us page, where they can see the owner of the company, where they can see the technicians of the company, if you have a facility where they can see that it's a real company, because you're silently selling them by the presentation that your website delivers, right?
Most definitely. Yes.
You think of home service companies. It's like it's an amazing business to be in, because you guys may not realize it, but there's so many bad seeds out there in every industry, and it's almost impossible to make one call and get someone to come out to your house and do a good job. They'll come, and if they're on time, sometimes they won't do a good job. It's very hard to get the two together, and so people are very hesitant when they're searching on Google to find a plumber or an HVAC client. Am I gambling? Am I going to lose money here? Who are these guys? And we're going to talk about reviews in a little bit, because that's important, but content is images, content is copy, it's writing persuasive copy to get the client to pick up the phone, and basically trust, right?
Exactly.
Who do they trust?
We really want them to get to know you well just from looking at your site. So let's make it as personalized as possible. Put your mission statement on there, your values, your ethics, guarantees that you offer, that sort of thing, because it's really gonna provide a nice trust factor for your clients, and it really will help with conversion.
Yeah, absolutely. There's two sides to every business. There's marketing dollars that you spend to drive customers to your business, and then there's got to be some type of budget saved for in-house, right? Upping your team, and things like an Employee of the Month program that your team can strive for, posting these things on your site as well as your social media.
Yes.
That is proof that there are, social proof that there's real people in the company and they're doing a good job, and also they feel good about it.
Definitely.
So it's good stuff to promote.
Something else I wanted to touch on is if you work with certain brands, like we mentioned Trane, Rheem, or American Standard or Kohler, we should definitely mention that on the site as well. And you guys are definitely in the trenches, so let us know if there's certain terminology that's used in your area, or let's say maybe in your area people mostly have gas furnaces, or anything like that is important for us to know. We really want to tailor the site to your market, and the more we can speak to that and to the people who are actually visiting your site, the better the conversion will be.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes it's good to get creative in your writing, because if every article on your website is how to find a plumber in Little Rock, Arkansas, well, that's kind of, it doesn't add any value. And from we write a couple different ways here. We write content for pages and services and cities, but then we also write blog copy, blogs on your site. And that's where it's fun to get a little creative. And sometimes we'll post things about events in the area, because that's good content for SEO.
Yes.
If someone's searching for something in a particular city, it would come up. It may not drive traffic right now, but you're adding value, right? DIY, although every one of our plumbers and HVAC guys always hates that, understand that there are certain DIY projects that if you tell a customer how to do it, in the end they don't want to do it. It's called educational-based marketing. It's something that we've always done at Plumbing and HVAC SEO, right? Everything that we do is we tell plumbing and HVAC clients how to do SEO.
Exactly.
Word for word.
The recipe is there.
The recipe is there, but you don't want to do it, right? Or it's one thing to read it and learn it and do it, but in the end you want to hire someone to do it. And I think the same could be said for homeowners, right? It's nice to know how to do something, and some will, most won't.
Exactly.
And the one that does do it themselves wasn't going to call you anyway, right? The guy that steps down and reads a tutorial on how to change the little, what do they call those things? The little rubber thing in the faucet, rubber thing, technical there. The seal. They're not going to call you to do that anyway. So it's good to have that information out there, because it does drive traffic. Other types of content. I wrote an article years ago when I used to write blog posts for the clients, the top 10 bathrooms in a particular city. And to this day, that blog post still drives a bunch of traffic. The top 10 public bathrooms.
Wow. That's
And I've seen articles on one of our clients' site, and I can't quite remember who it was. It was about water faucet repair. And it was just like how a water faucet works. And
wow.
it got tons of traffic, which was so surprising to me. And then he was getting a ton of traffic to his water faucet page. It was water faucet page, which was really interesting. Anything else you want to cover on content?
Not really much else. I just want to mention, because I know our account managers / strategic partners hound some of you to send us pictures. So I'm looking at you. Send us pictures of your technicians, your trucks, please. We want to add it to the site.
Yeah, it definitely adds a higher level of conversion.
Definitely.
Because, again, we're dealing with trust factor in the home services industry. It's just not there, because all our clients are great. They do excellent work, but you just have to separate yourself from the bad guys that don't do such a good job. And you could be a very, very wealthy and successful business by just doing a couple simple things, and it's like just deliver on the service and show up on time. It's amazing.
Yes.
The next part of it is reviews, and then people don't think of reviews as an SEO thing, but in all reality it is, because it does a couple things, right? It creates content, it creates trust. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the review process and how it works in your department?
Definitely. So before I dive into this section, I wanted to share a quick statistic that I found that was very interesting. And a study found that 85% of people trust an online review as much as a personal recommendation.
That's crazy.
And, right? That says a lot. So if you're not paying attention to your reviews, you're definitely missing out, because people are looking at them and they are making a decision before they even look at your website. Just from the Google listing, they are seeing the average review and the average review rating, and that could already make a difference. So
Absolutely.
if you're a plumbing and HVAC client, we do a few things to kind of help you push to get Google reviews. So those are the ones you really want to focus on the most to start off. Those carry the most weight, and Google reviews are directly tied to your Maps rankings. So you definitely want to push for those first. You should have received Google review cards for your technicians to give out every time they complete a service. Please feel free to reach out to us whenever you run out of those cards. We're more than happy to send you more. And
How about for a technician that goes out to a house and does the job, and then just says to the customer, I can give you a $10 Starbucks card if you leave us a positive review.
oh no!
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
So a lot of you might be under the impression that this is something that's fine to do, but please stay away from this. It is very, very dangerous, and it's bad to incentivize for reviews in that way. Google, if they find out that you're doing that, they will flag you, and in extreme cases, I have read online that the Federal Trade Commission can get involved. So you don't want to incentivize for reviews at all. So no contests, no offering gift cards. The only way that you can incentivize, and this kind of appeals to the human side, is you can tell the customer, hey, if you liked Bob as a technician and he provided good service, do you think you could jump on Google and leave us a review? We have a goal for Bob that if he gets 10 good reviews this month, we're going to give him a raise. So then you're appealing to the human side, but you're not directly incentivizing the client. And that's a cool way that you can try to acquire some reviews.
Yeah, that's really good. Reviews is a very interesting thing, because the review sites, love them or hate them, they take their jobs very serious. And so remember, their end goal is to make sure that the customers who search on Google or search on Yelp or any of the other review sites is actually seeing real reviews. Because I know you've seen, you go to I was on eBay the other night. I was trying to buy something, and I read some reviews, and it was the same review as another listing that the guy had. And it was like, bestseller ever, same, different name. It was just so shady, and I just was like, there's nothing worse than feeling like it's a bad review. And I think Google and Yelp do a good job of weeding that out. I mean, I know everyone in the home service industry hates Yelp because they tend to hide reviews in the background, and part of the reason is a lot of those reviews are first-time reviewers, and they were incentivized reviewers, and so there's so many problems there but what they're trying to do is just deliver the best, right, and make sure that it's real.
This is definitely true. So for that reason, a lot of these platforms are really sticklers about the reviews. Like Dean was saying, if you just create a new Yelp account and you leave a positive review, they automatically think that that's suspicious. So they're not even going to let that review fly. For this reason, a lot of platforms also are not going to let you take down negative reviews. And it's even happened where we've had reviews that are genuinely spam, and Google or Facebook is really difficult about taking those down. So unfortunately, you're not going to be able to take down a negative review, but we're going to cover a few things that you can do to kind of work around that and recover your average review rating.
Yeah, it's interesting because a bad review could be an opportunity if you do it right.
Exactly.
Right? It really all depends on how you reply. And listen, I'm the first one when I see a bad review, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to kill that person. and that's, unfortunately, that's a bad way to do it, right? In the upcoming issue of Engage newsletter that's going out in a couple weeks, I wrote an article on how to handle customer complaints. But one of the things that I used as an example on there is I was personally looking for an electrician to come to my house, and I went on Angie's List. And I saw this, it's a nationwide company, I'm not going to use the name, but he was number one, and he had over 100 reviews, by far greater than anyone else. And that was impressive in its own. So I was reading the reviews. He had one bad review. Unfortunately, it was the first one. It was the only bad review he had out of over 100.
Wow.
That's pretty good.
That's saying a lot.
And the problem with that one bad review is the way he replied to it. He replied to it in a very negative manner. In fact, he was insulting to the client. Wrote in the review that the client was a crazy person and that he didn't want their business anyway, and that they should go, don't ever call him again.
That's shocking.
I didn't use him as an electrician, and the reason I didn't is because people make mistakes. Everyone understands that all businesses make mistakes, and it's how the business responds to the mistakes that makes them a great company and that opens up opportunities for more business. With this particular guy, all those over 100 positive reviews were just negated because I felt like, okay, if he does something that is bad or is not going to work out, I'm toast. I have no chance unless he does a perfect job and I
Pretty
get
much.
a perfect
Yeah.
review. So that's the challenge there. How you review. So what is your recommendation on a bad review? How to handle it?
So, to start off, the one thing I can recommend is you should respond to all your reviews. And Google does like to see that activity. They like to see you logging into your Google My Business listing and responding to your reviews. Here at Plumbing and HVAC SEO, we do offer that as a service. So if you're interested, you can reach out to your account manager. We can go in and respond to your reviews. But if you want to go ahead and do it yourself, the first tip I can give you is respond to all reviews. For the positive ones, you can say something nice like, hey, Mr. Customer, we really appreciate your service. We hope to have the opportunity to serve you again in the future. Now, for the negative reviews. So don't respond in the heat of the moment, right? Like Dean was saying. So this gentleman, unfortunately, he probably responded when he was very upset, and now it's out there for the world to see. You can't take it back. So don't respond when you're upset. Go outside, take a few minutes to cool down, and don't engage in a back and forth with the person. So the best thing you can do is encourage them to call your office and sort it out, because you don't want to have a back and forth there for everyone to see. I would say try not to respond to the same person more than once or twice. If they're just not willing to work with you, and it's, you know what I mean, you don't want to have that out there. So just put in a nice diplomatic response. Hey, I'm really sorry you had a bad experience with us. We want to try to make it better. Can you please call our office? We want to speak with you. So if after one or two responses it doesn't work out, I would say don't continue. And then something really, really great that you can do is, if you do speak with the customer and you're able to rectify that experience, go ahead and encourage them to go back in and change their star rating. A lot of them will do that. And then they'll write an edit and say, oh, I spoke with the owner and they were able to resolve my situation, so I'm increasing the rating. And there you've just salvaged a negative and turned it into a positive. So those are a couple of tips that you can start using to tackle those negative ratings. And then if worse comes to worse and there's really not much you can do, one of the things we recommend is just trying to acquire more good reviews to kind of bury the negative one. Because again, Google and Facebook and most of the platforms are really reluctant to take those down. So the best you can do is just kind of hide it.
Yeah, that's so true. It's a great point that you made. Take them from the online to the offline, because that's where you want to have those conversations. You don't want to.
Definitely.
You don't want to put all that out in the open, because people read it. And let's face it, don't get all bent out of shape if you get a negative review. If you try to please everyone, you please nobody. So it's important to know that you are going to get negative reviews no matter what you do. They just come. It's how you respond to them and how you fix the problem that works in the company's favor. Because every customer and consumer out there, they just want one thing. They want to pay a serviceman and for the servicemen to do the service and fix it correctly. Now, if something goes wrong, they're going to try all they can try to get you to fix that problem. And I'm a true believer that people don't want to leave bad reviews. They really just want their problem resolved. Now, there's a couple crazies out there. There are definitely crazies out there who are looking for something for nothing. But the percentage of those people is so small that it's almost non-existent.
A lot of times a negative review, they're just trying to get your attention ultimately.
Yeah.
So a lot of times you'll be surprised, they will be very willing to change their rating if you fix things with them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And why that's a great marketing opportunity is because the next potential customer who reads reviews, and they all read reviews, can see that, hey, they made a mistake, but they fixed it.
Exactly.
That's all. You're not alone. You're not going to get ripped off. You're going to be fixed. So that's why responding in a positive way and not a negative way is
a big difference.
Huge difference. Huge difference. I think that's about it on reviews, right? I mean,
I think that pretty much covers it. Yeah.
and we have all the tools for reviews in house that everyone has full access to. Bird Eye and Nearby Now, and And with that being said, let's jump into Nearby Now, because Nearby Now is a really cool tool.
Yes.
And it's important for both SEO, for content, and reviews. So everything we talked about throughout this whole show can now be handled with one little application.
Definitely.
And we had Billy on the show a couple of weeks ago from Nearby Now. He's the developer of Nearby Now, and he was on for about 45 minutes, and him and I discussed the importance of the check-ins and the reviews, and he went into the technical aspects of it. But from an SEO perspective, why don't you tell us, how the good side to Nearby Now and why they should be using it, and if they have it and they're not using it, how that's not good.
Alrighty, so yeah, let's definitely start off there, because if you're not using Nearby Now, you definitely should be. It is a very powerful tool, which is why we give it to all of our clients by default, and it's going to have a couple of very outstanding benefits for your site. The first one is Nearby Now does a very, very cool map on your website, and it displays to Google kind of like an idea of where your service area is, and Google can actually see, okay, they're actually servicing this area, and these technicians are doing check-ins.
It should heat map.
Exactly, with a heat
red.
map. And it shouldn't be something that takes your technicians a lot of time to do. They just have to get in the habit of doing it. The second benefit is the text that the technicians are going to be inputting is text that is ultimately crawled by Google. So that's another opportunity for us to put in some great content in there that Google can crawl. So my best advice would be, we don't want to see generic statements like water heater is
And that's exactly what Billy said when I was talking to him. He brought up that exact topic. He says, what we're seeing a lot of is a tech that goes out there and we know they're in a rush, they got to get to the next job, they just have water heater. And
that's a missed opportunity.
Yeah, because just a couple seconds longer, they could write, just installed a Rheem water heater for, do they make water heater? Model this and that in the so-and-so neighborhood.
Exactly. So you want to try to get as descriptive as possible. So that means, like he said, mentioning brand names. So today we installed a Lennox furnace or an A.O. Smith water heater. You want to mention the part that was being replaced. So we fixed an evaporator coil on a Trane AC unit, a commercial Trane AC unit even. So yeah, mention if it's commercial or residential. If you're working in a neighborhood that's not really a formal city, definitely mention that. You can even do check-ins when you're at a trade show. So really there's a lot to leverage here. Another cool check-in would be seasonal work that you might be doing. So we did, so you could do something like, today we did a furnace tune-up, getting ready for winter on a Trane unit, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So definitely there's a lot to leverage here. So make sure your techs are doing the most they can. And again, it shouldn't take that long. They can take a quick picture of the work they've done, type in some text, and they can be on their way.
Yeah, great. So, from a review standpoint, can Nearby Now help with reviews?
Definitely. So Nearby Now also streamlines the review process. Basically, it gives you the option to get the client's either number or email address, and the technician can do it right there and send a review request, and then the client will receive it and they will have the option to leave a review on multiple platforms. They'll have the option to leave Google, Facebook, Yelp, and we can also edit those options if you guys prefer. So that's another facet of Nearby Now that we absolutely love.
Very nice. Technician absolutely, positively does not want to do it. Do you fire him, or is there a back office way of doing this?
So another great part of Nearby Now is that your receptionist or your CSR can also do check-ins from the office. The desktop version offers all the same benefits as the mobile version. You can attach photos, you can request reviews, and the desktop version gives you lots of cool metrics. So you can even do competitions amongst your technicians, see who's doing the most check-ins, who's acquiring the most reviews. You can export, let's say you send your review request via email to all your clients. You can later on export that list, and you have a cool list of emails to do some direct marketing to. So there's really, Nearby Now is definitely a robust software, and if you're not using it, you are missing out. Please get with your account manager. He or she can provide you with a full Nearby Now training, and you can show your employees how to do it. They just have to install the application on their phone. Very quick and simple.
Awesome. This was awesome. I mean, we basically covered everything, right? Really broad. You know, when you look at SEO, it's almost like smoke and mirrors because there's not a deliverability, right? The deliverable is the phone calls from the customer and seeing yourself on the first page of Google. But SEO has morphed so much over the years, and it's so much more than being on page 1 for Miami Plumber. Yes, you want to be there for that, for your city plus plumber, because it's probably the thing that people search a lot. I'm not going to say the most because I think that's not the case anymore. The way people search is so much different than the way they searched just 2 years ago.
Yes.
And because of mobile phones, it's just you're going to see a higher search volume on your smartphone than you do on your laptop computers or your desktop computers, because people are not just typing anymore. So they're voice searching on Siri, on Google, on Amazon Alexa. So, and they're typing long form. You know,
Yes.
when you're on a computer, you type in Miami Plumber, boom, and you get a bunch of search results. But if you're on a phone, you're not just typing Miami Plumber. You're typing things like what we call long tail keywords. You're typing statements such as, who is the best plumber in the San Fernando Valley area? Or who's a plumber that does the best water heater installation in Brooklyn, New York?
Yes.
Or things like that, long tail keywords. And when they voice search, very rarely do they say, hey Google, Miami Plumber. Google responds, I'm sorry, what do you mean by that? No, they just don't talk like that. We start talking to these robots like they're human beings. And so it's like, I had a 2-hour conversation with Alexa the other day, but that's for a doctor. You sit there and say, Alexa, who's the best plumber in the Coral Springs, Florida area? And then Alexa will give you a list. And sometimes, depending on where you are, you'll get the results from Google Business Listings, or in some areas it's also Yelp. So you want to have, the way to handle this is to answer the questions that people are asking, right?
Definitely.
And have Q&A pages on your website that answer questions for voice search. And so it's very important that as SEO morphs, we or you morph with it, right?
Yes, definitely. And this is something that we're tackling now. Voice search is continually increasing, so it's part of the same algorithm, but it does have its own tweaks. So we're adjusting our websites to rank well for voice search. Again, if you're a client of Plumbing and HVAC SEO, your SEO is covered with us. All we need your help with is providing us with personalized content that we can add to your site to really give it that completely different touch and really help with conversion. So
Yeah.
that's mainly what we were trying to cover here.
Yeah, absolutely. There's one other thing that I just wanted to touch on, because I know there's a lot of questions about it, and that's page speed.
Oh, yeah.
And so Google has this tool out there that measures page speed on mobile and desktop. And why page speed is important, because remember the days of dial-up when you got onto a website and it just circled and circled and circled. Well, there's still websites out today that are just a little too heavy and they load slow.
Yeah.
If you have a slow loading website, you're going to fall in the rankings and people are going to leave your website because no one wants to. The average, I just read something recently that the average, what's the word I'm looking for?
Loading time?
Attention span of a
Oh.
human being is somewhere around 2 seconds, which is less than a goldfish.
Oh my god.
I just read that. I was like blown away by it. And it's so true. You know, you stand there and someone says, we'll be with you in 3 minutes. And you're like, 3 minutes? What am I going to do for 3 What am I going to do for 3 minutes?
Exactly.
So think about a website that takes, 10 seconds to load or 5 seconds to load. You just want to, people don't have patience for that. And Google, Google looks at that, and that's an algorithm thing. So your site has to be quick and load fast.
Definitely. With Google's, one of their recent algorithm changes, they basically did mobile first algorithm change, which basically means that they're going to look at the mobile version of your site first, and that's how they're going to decide how your site ranks. So if your site is not loading well and it's taking too long, of course you're gonna lose visitors because people will click away. But also Google does not look fondly on that. So definitely a big deal.
This was a great show today, man. I could talk about SEO all day long.
So can I.
But unfortunately, our friends here have to get back to work, right?
Exactly.
And I'm sure some of them have left already and come back and see the recording. If that's the case, it's pre-recorded. It'll be on the Engage website. It's also will be on the Facebook feed, the recorded episode. Ellie has to get back and do some SEO for some websites. And this might be the longest episode of Engage we ever did, and I really think it was a good one. I really love talking about this stuff. It's really at the heart of what we do.
Definitely.
And it's all about, it's reviews, it's content, and it's creating everything on a strong foundation and making sure, knowing that if you're with us, you're taken care of. And
Most
if you're not, you should.
You should be.
You should be. Sign up today. Give you a free mobile site. No, I'm just kidding. That's so cheesy. We tried that. Every site comes with mobile now. No,
Exactly.
but the new Engage newsletter is going out in the mail, like I mentioned before, and there's some great articles in there. We did there's a full spread. It's about 6 pages where we got to interview Chad Peterman of Peterman HVAC, Cooling, and Plumbing in Indianapolis, Indiana, and that was. He's been with us for a while. We've been doing SEO for him, and he talks about the successful things that he does in his business with his employees, with his team, and how we've helped them along. And there's some great articles in there about metrics for measuring your internet marketing, and it's the biggest issue we've ever had. It's 16 pages, and you'll see it in a couple of weeks. And I want to thank you for joining me today on the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate
Appreciate.
it.
Could you come back next week?
I'll do my best.
We'll be back next week with another great show. I don't know who it's going to be yet, but I will find someone. Get us photos of you and your team. It really helps. Get to the account manager right away, because it really does help us. And any events that you're doing,
Yes, please.
so important. Get us that contact, because we're your extended marketing department, and the things we ask you for will only help you.
Definitely. We only have you guys in mind.
Yeah.
So please send us as much content as you can. We would love to add that to the website. Yes.
Cool. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for
That was
joining us.
Engage today, and we all talked about all about SEO. Thanks, Ellie. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Bye, guys.
Thanks for being a customer.